Today we're going to make a backsplash out of hexagonal tiles. I've been wanting to do a hexagonal backsplash for quite some time, and building out the kitchen for the shipping container house was the perfect opportunity to try out this idea. I ordered these Carrara marble hexagonal tiles from Home Depot. They come mesh mounted in 12-inch by 12-inch sheets. The mesh mounting is great because it sets the spacing between the tiles for you, and you can just use a knife to cut out the pattern and design you want out of the sheets. The tile is going to go right up against the countertops, so I'm going to need to trim the bottom edge so that it'll sit flat to the countertop. This is really easy to do if you have a tile saw with a sliding bed. I lined up the blade of the saw to the existing pattern and then just trimmed off half of these 3 bottom tiles. After trimming the bottoms on about 5 sheets, I started making up the design on the fly. I wanted a landscape aesthetic that went higher up when it was behind the stove and the kitchen sink, but I also had to make sure to accommodate the electrical outlets on the wall. So I started with the corner piece on the right, and then I just used my knife to trim pieces and make the sides of each sheet fit together. This is really easy. It's about as easy as a preschooler's puzzle. The stove sticks up slightly higher than the countertops, so we pulled the stove out a bit so that the bottom of the backsplash could run straight along the edge established by the countertops. I wanted the design to start low on the waterfall edge of the counters, but wanted a high point in the design to be on the center of the sink. So what I would do is I would skip back and forth between working on the designs from both ends just to make sure it would all fit together, with the high points being behind the stove and behind the sink. One mistake that we made is that we didn't fully trim back all of the fiberglass mesh on the backside of the tile before gluing it in place. This isn't a really big deal and we were able to trim it later, but next time I would definitely cut all the mesh back behind the edge of the tile at least 1/8 of an inch. To glue the tile to the wall, we're going to use Gorilla paintable silicone. Now at first I was a little bit surprised that the tile guys recommended this. I thought we would use more of a construction adhesive, but they said silicone's really good since we're using natural stone tile. We applied small amounts on each tile and then used blue painter's tape to hold the tile in place while the silicone set. This part was pretty easy. The only tricky part was over the stove, because when you're over the stove you don't have the countertop for the tile to sit on. So you just need to use a little bit more tape. Now this isn't the first unusual backsplash that I did. A while back at my Boston house, I actually made a concrete backsplash that I formed with Legos. I'll put a link to that in the description box. Once the silicone had cured, we removed the painter's tape and then went back in and caulked along the top edge of the tile. To grout in between the tiles, we use Fusion Pro Grout in bright white. I've used a few different grouts. This is by far the best grout I've ever used. It's a little bit more expensive, but you don't have to mix it, and it is super stain resistant and really easy to apply. It has an advanced acrylic plus silicone resin formulation that provides superior color consistency, and it includes antimicrobial product protection to inhibit the growth of stain-causing molds and mildew on the grout. Basically, it just looks better and it's cleaner. Grouting a backsplash is really easy. You just work the grout in using a rubber grout float and then wipe off the excess with a damp sponge. Now the grout float and sponge combination was working really well for us, but if you find that after sponging it, there's a little bit of a haze left over from the grout on top of the tile, just use a damp microfiber cloth to remove that. I've actually used this Fusion Pro Grout in woodworking projects as well. I actually would CNC some designs into wood and then use grout as the inlay. I'll put a link to those projects in the description box below. I am super happy with how this backsplash came out. It really does look like a mountain range made out of hexagonal marble. It's also really cool how the quartz countertop and the glass surface on the electric stove reflect the design of the backsplash. If you want to see more about the shipping container house project, I'll put links in the description description box below. I've been a little bit slow on getting new video episodes of that project out, but there's a lot more coming soon to that channel. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out some of our other videos, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks. Bye.